To call them levels as such might not be entirely accurate because, instead of different levels stacked vertically, this is likely to be merely the result of a subjective impression rather than the reality, and could just as easily be something more horizontally linear. For the purpose of talking about it, however, I've opted to go with the vertical approach and to speak in terms of depth to describe what appears to be, if not levels exactly, then some kind of stacked layers that give a distinct impression of depth. In the types of dreams generated by the Dild method, levels of depth do not really seem to come into the picture much, if at all. Dream-induced dreams nearly always plunge the dreamer by default into a fairly deep level of dreaming right from the outset, and perhaps, in part, accounts for why it usually takes so very long to start to gain any headway using the dream-induced method. Being plunged right into the deep end, as one ordinarily is via Dilds, is doubly disorientating, and taxes one's lucidity to the utmost, as the struggle is always, at least initially, one of just being able to maintain that lucidity, no matter how fragile, leaving little time or attention to notice anything else like subtleties of degree. Fortunately, with Wiles, the opposite is again always the case, in that one quite naturally starts off at the topmost level or layer, the easiest of all in which to be lucid, and, more importantly, the easiest to maintain one's lucidity in. Next, with experience, successfully working your way down through the other various levels existing underneath, as your experience and familiarity with handling yourself in the dream state increases. Just how far or how many of these levels extend underneath is currently unknown, and thus remains unmapped. However, experience tends to suggest that there are several distinct levels, 4 of which I'm currently aware of and which I'll shortly attempt to describe. But I suspect that there are probably a lot more that other, more talented dreamers than myself can discover and eventually map, not only for themselves, but also for the growing community of lucid dreamers out there who are also interested in mapping and exploring these altered states of consciousness. The very first level you'll encounter via a Wild will always reassuringly be what I've temporarily called the training program, or construct, of the Matrix movie fame. This is something other explorers will undoubtedly later rename perhaps more accurately. In this instance, in a lucid dream, the only person in that dream will be you and you alone. Initial images of being in either a room or an outside setting do not really figure so much with these starter dreams. What really counts in this training area is the highly coveted level of ultra-clear, full lucidity, complete with full access to all your normal waking memories and thoughts. This is a decidedly rare occurrence with Dilds, especially in the initial stages. Of course, full lucidity and full memory are crucial to intelligently deciding just exactly what you're going to be doing next with all this. A clarity that is often singularly lacking in the shifting, semi-lucid levels of awareness that, more often than not, typically go hand in hand with Dilds. Enter into lucid dreaming via a Dild and you'll be straight away nearly overwhelmed and struggle to find your feet. Enter into lucid dreaming via a Wild, however, and you'll be automatically fully aware of what's going on right from the outset. Not only will you be fully aware of what's happening to you, but you will also remember exactly who you are and what you are and what you have been attempting to do right up until that very moment. You'll have full awareness and full waking memory to assist you. Effectively, therefore, this is the area, or first level, in which you may not only familiarize yourself with the conditions of being in a dreaming state, but also be able to experiment to some degree with manipulating yourself whilst in such an altered state of awareness. For example, the training program is the perfect environment for the beginner in lucid dreaming to practice their flying abilities. Very cool. The thing to do initially is to return to this training area as regularly as possible in order to become proficient in getting used to handling yourself in the dreaming state before moving on to applying these skills in perhaps more distant and/or busier levels. The next level down is similar to the first, except that there may well be one or two other people moving around in there doing their own thing, but with whom you probably won't have any direct interaction. Initially, this level is more difficult to remain fully lucid in. Consider, for example, that you move from the first level to the second. There will be a noticeably longer moment in which you struggle to remain fully lucid, though still lucid enough to know that you're dreaming. The full lucidity you've already become accustomed to expecting on the first level noticeably struggles to come to the fore for a few moments, unlike the first level wherein full lucidity is always automatic. However, after a short while it clears up again, and you are once again fully lucid. It may seem to take extra effort to maintain this level, but you soon get used to it and then carry on as before, exploring. You wobble around a bit initially, noticing the extra difficulty involved for a few moments, and then everything clears up all by itself. It is yet more difficult to remain lucid in the third level than in the previous two. Lucidity at this level drifts away from you and returns like waves. You still know that you're dreaming, but the drop in full lucidity is quite noticeable. You struggle to arrange your thoughts, and for a while it's like mentally wading through water. It's difficult to think or even remember what you were trying to do. But don't be surprised if, at this point, you entirely forget what you were about and only realize it sometime later when full lucidity returns to you and you find yourself wondering, or even marveling at, what the hell you were doing so thoughtlessly just now. It's like drifting off into a daydream and then coming to your senses again when something jogs your memory, usually by unknowingly interacting with other people in the dream and only realizing it afterwards. The mere presence of other people in the dream usually seems to be the reason for this, as if they, for some reason, directly affect your levels of lucidity. Nevertheless, hang around long enough, even in this third and more difficult area of dreaming, and your lucidity eventually increases again and stabilizes enough to again go off for a wander around in order to explore. Level 4 is the full lucid dreaming scenario, and a situation in which anything can and does happen, where you experience every conceivable combination and situation that you can ever remember encountering in any of your unconscious random dreams before. Having already slowly adjusted and acclimatized yourself down through the previous 3 levels, it doesn't take too long to adjust to the slightly extra difficulty of this 4th. The grip you have already gained and tightened over your lucidity in the previous easier levels stands you in good stead in this 4th one, which does not really differ that much from the previous 3, other than in terms of just how well populated it is in comparison. There is one other level that's been recently discovered, which might be more correctly labelled level 0 than level 5. It is a very strange place indeed in terms of awareness, whereby one is neither completely awake nor in a lucid dream. It is a kind of in-between or middle ground position that's very hard to describe, but which we'll discuss in depth in the next tutorial. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this instruction intriguing and inspiring and would like to learn more. In which case, please subscribe to this channel and/or check back soon for the next video update in this series. Anyway, bye for now, plus see you soon in part 6, the midway point. See ya!